All right, big hey now to you guys out there watching this stream or coming back for the replay. All right, we're going to talk just a couple minutes about HEX and product market fit. This is something we talk about quite a bit in the HEX community. And what is product market fit? It's HEX product market fit is that it's very similar to a TradFi CD, certificates of deposit. And what it's really for is serving a user for someone who wants predictable, trust-minded rewards in crypto without relying on intermediaries, third parties, leverage or active management. So for those of you who've been around for a little bit, you already know that, hey, most people that are trying to make yield in crypto, they're doing things like LPing and farming and rolling positions. All of them require you to do something. You have to be watching. You have to take action. Depends on counterparties, governance, there's complexity. And lots of times, the shiny new stuff kind of dries up on you, right? So we'll have... you might be thinking for some reason that you get this new farm or whatnot, and the farm just goes away. Well, Hex doesn't work that way. The way Hex works is that if you have shares, you get your share every day. Whether you have T shares, B shares, M shares, you have your shares, and you get your split every single day. And so the product market fit is more Hex over time for staking Hex. That's the product market fit. You get paid in Hex. How that looks in the market, that depends on what the market does, the individual users, et cetera, et cetera. But we know that the way it's built, and you can see on the screen here as I'm looking 120 days in the future, the share rate goes up. And it's specifically built to mimic compound interest, compound gains, because if somebody comes in and they set a stake, and they leave, and then they finish the stake, and they come back, they got to pay even more to get the same level of exposure. And so, shares for the win. I mean, this is it. And so these streams that I'm doing really targeted at people that want to be part of and are part of the HEX walled garden. Those people who have decided that this is the type of product market fit that they would like, whether they're staking natively and, showing their conviction, their willingness to wait by staking HEX long, through native stakes or even HSI stakes, the HEX staking instances from Hedron. And of course, people can always find out more about HEX at hex.com. So you can go over to hex.com, go learn about it over there. Now, you can look at our 120-day look ahead. These don't change a whole lot week over week. We're doing these streams on a regular basis. These numbers, they may shift around a little bit, but they do not change significantly. And so you can still see we're looking out into May now with a double cross of the share rates on both sides. It's kind of interesting to watch that happen. I do expect that Pulse Chain share rate could actually bump ahead of the Ethereum side. And then Ethereum may switch it back up and become dominant again. Both are proceeding slowly up to the 45K level. And so that's what that looks like. And over time, we go out into 27. Do expect them both to be approaching 54,000 by the end of 27. So maybe up another 4,000 or 5,000 next year or this year, another 4,000 or 5,000 the year after, and then always getting more expensive. All the while, T shares are actually coming down, right, in count. They're coming down in count, and APR is slowly rising. So again, very interesting situation. Currently, HEX staking for 15 years is competitive to, I believe it's competitive to T-bills, treasuries, except with the exception that in HEX, this is probably the lowest the APR could really get. I mean, maybe it can go a little bit lower. I doubt it, though. I mean, it would require a lot more HEX to be purchased and or staked, even if it wasn't purchased, for very long periods of time to make significant changes to the payouts. And so I think we're solidly in that 4 to 5% range, and that the only way, the only real direction, I believe, is up. So I think over time you see the APRs go up, and that's because as people exit the system and they remove their shares from the pool, it goes up. And so, yeah, so you see those payouts go up. All right, let's take a quick look. People ask me this from time to time. Sometimes they want to see the information on my site. They want to see on HEX Daily Stats. HEX Daily Stats have been lagging a little bit on things like the share rate and whatnot. But let's go take a look and see. If you ever want to really know, like right now, what the share rate is, you can either go over to Etherscan.io, search for the HEX contract. HEX contract. Make sure you have the right number. All right, make sure it's the right contract number, ending with 39. You can go to the contract tab that's over here on etherscan.com. You can go to read contract, and then you'll see all the read functions that are down here. Things like you want to know what the allocated supply is. You come here, you can click on this guy here to open up, and you can give you a scan, tell you how many. You can go check your own balances of HEX for your wallet. You can drop your wallet address in here and tell you what your HEX is. But what we're all interested in is information about the T-shares. And so if we come over here to what they call globals, it's a name that somebody gave it, right? So somebody gave it the name of globals, right? And that somebody was our whoever was doing the contract at the time. They called the function globals. And there's a couple different functions, but there's a global info and then there's globals. And you can just hit the query button here like this. And what it does is it populates with the latest information on the screen right here. You do have to be mindful of decimals. But what I'm interested in right now is what is the share rate? The share rate here listed on the Ethereum side is 44,315.6. Decimal wise, you got to take that extra decimal off, but currently that's the T-share rate on the Ethereum side, 44,315. So you can see it's pretty quick to get it yourself. You want to go look and see. You want to see how many penalties there are for the day. You can see the penalties. Again, you have to convert the number, to actual decimals, but there it is. If we go over to the Pulse chain is very similar. You go to the contract. Go to read contracts, go down to globals. It's the same contract, right? It was forked over, right? And so you can come in here, see the share rate. This is a little bit easier to read, actually, I think, than Etherscan. But you can see the share rate listed right here, 43,954. There you go. There's a T-share rate right there. So you can come get that information. You want to know how many T-shares there are overall? You can look right down here at this number. Again, I'm not going to bother with the math with you guys, but just know that's 43.3 million, right? That's the total number of T-shares, 43.3 million. And on the Ethereum side, it's 42.65 million. Right? So voila. This is how you can go find out what the share rate is yourself. And or what the penalties are, latest stake, all that kind of good information. You can grab it yourself and look it up and have fun with it. So there we go. Let's see what else we want to talk about. You guys drop any questions out there in the chat now, because I don't think we got a whole lot to talk about. Things are pretty quiet on the old HEX Pulse chain, HEX Ethereum. Things pretty quiet right at the moment. All models are still going way out. I'm doing an update right now on the data, so I don't have like up to the minute information up to a few days ago, which kind of is probably a little outdated. But you see what we were looking at. We were still looking at being pretty close out here in March of 41 of around 2,000 T-shares. So that continues, that whole effort continues to see very, very solid kind of participation month over month in staking, which again, I just keep bringing it up because I do think it's an opportunity for those people who are interested in HEX, either on Pulse or Pulse Chain. So let's see what we got. Uh, all right. Yep. Max Power. I agree. The T-shares are underrated. For those interested, again, we're within the walled garden, guys. So we're within the walled garden of hex staking. This means that you're interested in earning rewards in, somewhat passive income through hex, right? That's why we're talking about it here. Right? This is not chasing shiny stuff. And so within that walled garden, T shares are highly well, they might be undervalued outside of it, but inside of it, they might be highly valued. But people certainly aren't loading up the trucks, right? But they could. They could be loaded up the trucks. I see Quattrocincos coming through every day, and I'm always if you one of those people, send me a shout sometime. Let me know what you're thinking while you're doing your Quattrocincos because I see them pop up, a couple every day. Just kind of moving out there. I see Upage out there. The Bit Finesse is talking about the M shares for the win. Yep. I mean, in the world of 100x price hacks, that's going to be a big deal. It's a big deal. And in the world of, we don't have as many T-shirts. We're going to be losing some T-shirts here shortly. We got this big stake coming up in April that's going to be ending. We're going to end up with some of the T-shirts coming down. And we'll see we're going to see what the OA does. I'm not sure what the OA will do with that, so we'll see. Acid Thunder, I see you out there. Hardcore native sticker. There you are. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, J Soul, you can like it if you like. If you don't, you don't. That's fine too. I get plenty of both. Let's see. You got KE. Quattrocinco. I am staking native. I have a lot to learn about actuator and all the other gold nuggets. Yeah, actuator's definitely a subset of this. And off we go. Yeah, you know what, Jay? If Alex from Hedron, who I think you're referring to, wants to come on talk, we can come on talk. It'd be cool. I would do that. I'm VS Crypto again. Thank you for all those newsletters you're putting out there. I appreciate that. I see Recdon Crypto here. Jay Soul saying, hey, he wants to be a producer. Let me know, dude. Maybe you could be the producer. I don't know. Benny, Hex is the way. All right. Yeah. Oh, Corrigan. How do I optimize my staking, Crispy? I don't know. It's kind of hard to give a vanilla answer, as far as quote unquote optimizing your staking. It really depends on you, what your plans are, what you're trying to do as to what the optimization is. I think we're talking native stakes. Always thought that having plans for, short, medium, long term is good. Kind of fit the staking to your liking and what you're interested in. With the advent of the HSIs, you can preserve, you can do HSIs and potentially, but not guaranteed, right? But potentially be able to alter your exit dates by, by doing something with the HSI, either as protocol or selling it back to contracts and stuff. That's what the whole Icosa product was about. That didn't really come through yet. Waiting to see if Alex is going to make some changes to that, though I don't think so. Yeah, there are a couple sites. I mean, I thought Hex Scout had one, and there's been a couple sites around. I don't have one off the top of my head that allows you to do, different types of like ladders, but you can use Hex.calc, I think it's called. Well, I may not give you a name, but there's a calculator site that you can use, and I believe that Stake Hex Today does something. I am outraged, marketed. Very true. Dukaboos. Haven't seen you for a long time. Let's see. Is Hex Scout still working for fulfillment? I believe it's still working. It was doing pretty good. There's a bunch of sites now, dude. Like, I can't even keep track of them. People don't have to check in with me for what they're doing, so that's good. They can do it and go get their stuff and go figure out what they want to do with their hex. Oh, so off we go. Happy Hex Friday, everyone. About to buy some Hex and create some HSIs. Big smoke. Yeah, Big Smoke. I saw you talking on X. That was interesting. It was cool. A nice conversation about different ways to get involved with Hex. Who even knows what an A share is? I know what an A hole is. I think I'm not sure what an A share is. What is an A share? I guess it's a share. Get all the way down to share level, right? If we get past millions, then what are we talking about? Thousands, right? After that, so it'll be the next level down. It'll be 1,000 shares. I guess we're not going to call those T-shares. So yeah, you have to invent something, Jay. You have to invent a name for thousands of shares when we finally get there. And then I think shares are just shares. We get all the way down to shares. Boom. It'd be pretty cool. All right, Coin Critic, good to see you. Caught alive. It's been a while. Thanks for the content. I watch all your HEXFire streams. Nice to catch you live. You are welcome. If I could coordinate this a little bit better, I'd always be live when you're ready to watch. Corrigan is talking about optimizing stakes. Yeah, it takes a little bit of work. You know that the thing about the whole hex staking is really, like I said, it's really up to the individual. It's DeFi. You get to push the buttons. You choose the dates. You try. Some people will look at these charts, for instance. I'll give you an example. This is going to be short term, not super long term. So let's go to estimated 12-month payouts. So some people, what they'll do is they'll look longer term at when Hex is coming out, and let's say their time frame is they're not like set that they got to do a year exactly or whatever. Maybe they want to do some number of months. What they might do is actually look into the supply like this and say, oh look, there's a whole bunch that's supposed to come out in November. Let me end my stake in October, right? Or they could even drill down a little bit further and be like, well, I'm going to stake out into right before those stakes end, so I can end first. And this way, if I want optionality on the market, I can decide what I want to do with my HEX. That's a lot of planning, a lot of thinking. And so, excuse me, you could do that going out 15 years with your ladder. It's probably good to not stick to specific dates, kind of like have like a plan for what you're doing, like so it's not redundant. But some people just do anniversary dates, and they don't really pay as much attention to it, specifically the days. But yeah, they'll do some planning around when they expect other stakes to end and either stake over or under that date. A little bit of game of a conjecture for sure. All right, let's see. SAC for free color. I don't know what that is, but okay. Free colors. 15 minutes. What is an HSI? I'm assuming you're saying I am only doing native for now. Yeah, an HSI is called a HEX staking instance. And the HEX staking instance is just a normal stake, but it's wrappable. It's wrappable. It can be tokenized as an NFT. And it's done through the Hedron ICOSA ecosystem. And so if we go back to the beginning of HEX, right, the only thing that was available was native HEX staking. And native HEX staking is a pure commitment and conviction signal. Like you're being pretty pure about it if you do native staking, because you're opting for the most restrictive, self-restrictive, situation. And in the beginning, that's all we had, right? So it wasn't like people had a choice. It was either stay liquid or go staked, right? And so why is it most restrictive? Will you agree to a start and an end date? And if you end early, there are penalties. And if you end late, there are penalties, right? So you're making an agreement with the contract a certain number of days and that you're going to come back and end that stake, right? So it's very heavy on commitment. Now HSI, we do get a little bit of what's the right way to say this? There's a little bit of opinion variation on this. HSIs though, they make the stake portable, right? Because it can be tokenized, which means it can be sent from one wallet to the next. It also means that it can be used as collateral in different protocols, and so it opens up optionality, right? So the the politics discussion, the religion and politics kind of arguments back and forth are which is better for hex. And hands down, overall, I think most people say, well, native staking, if people are going to do it, is better for hex because it locks up more hex for longer periods of time and has the harshest penalties, right? So overall for hex, what's best for people, assuming that people can be trusted to manage their own stuff, right? Well, some would argue that HSIs are best for people. Why? Because their HSIs, they can do things with them in the meantime. They don't have to wait until the end. And so then you can see how this circular conversation goes back and forth. But you say, yeah, but that's the whole purpose of doing the native staking in the first place, is that people have to commit. They're forced to commit. The truth engine, right? And so then you get into this little cycle, round, round, and round we go, right? But regardless, here's the thing, guys, right? So I don't think in this stream or any of my streams we're going to solve hex, like save or otherwise affect hex. So we're talking about what's available, and there is an immutable contract called hex, allows you to stake hex, and there's an immutable contract for HSIs to create hex staking instances. It allows people to use HSIs, right, and make them. You can't stop that. So if people are going to use them, they use them. And there are protocols within ICOS and Hedron that allow you to utilize those HSIs. And now we have Actuator where you can also utilize those HSIs. And so people who want to do stuff with them will do stuff with them. That's it. That is it. All right. Hex Farmer, I see you. How you doing, man? I see you out there. Western TV, I think you're probably right. 0.0 BTC. All right. Hello, my lovelies. It's the Tam Tam. Let's see. It's the real Tam Tam. I don't even know who the real Tam Tam is. Is it the real Tam Tam? I don't know. All right. Coin Critic. I have lots of HSIs. I stopped doing them because the Hedron front end isn't self-contained. It's cool to be able to transfer the stake. I just don't like the extra dependencies. Yeah. It's a little more complicated, right? Like I can go, you see how, you may not have seen this whole stream, but you know how I just went into, what I did do is I went and showed how I can just go read from the contract. Well, if I want to go natively stake hex, I can just go do it through the same methodology I just showed, right? I'm not going to do it now, but I mean, we could go do it. We could go stake, and I could unstake, and I can do everything else I need to do with hex. The same applies to the Hedron Icosa and the HSIs. I can go stake and unstake with that directly too, as well as tokenize and all the rest. So yeah, but it's not as simple as just go copy paste, push a button, right? The front ends make that clean for you. And so I definitely feel you. I feel you on that, Mr. Critic. I see an aloha. Aloha. All right, welcome. Yes, that was big news. They changed the name of Hawaii to Hawaii. Let's see. Front end, we already talked about those. Extra dependencies. Yeah, if you're going to look at the HSI stuff, you can get a lot more better advice from others to, kind of dig into that and figure out what you want to do if it fits with what your plans are. I know I've been talking a lot about Actuator, and maybe what I'll do is kind of back off talking about that so much because I've been talking about it a lot, but it's because I like what it does. For the hex whales out there, I think one of the coolest things, right, is that I think that I'm not a hex whale. I wish I was, man. I had that idea at one point, like I was going to be a billion hex holder, but I never got there, right? But if you're like a big shark or a hex whale, what you could do, which I think is pretty cool, is you can go in that Actuator system and go create your own custom HTT. And when you create your own custom HTT, you can put up your own market for the HTT by putting LP up against hex. And there's probably a little more than just one pair that you would do. But anyways, as a hex, shark or whale, you can create your own little system that goes back and forth with ARBs, gives other people opportunity to participate too if they want to. But you can do the setup in such a way that you never lose your tokens. And what you are doing though is you keep your tokens in LP, with hex, just earning more hex day over day. So it's a different way of using hex and hex stakes. And of course, if we're talking about an HTT, it had to be a hex stake in the first place for that part. So anyways, I think there's something out there with HSIs that people can do that. But yeah, do your own research. That's beyond like entry level. Yeah, a lot of building going on right now, Recton Crypto. A lot of building going on in whatever this is, whether it's bear, super not bear, whatever this time frame is. So it's out there. A lot of things going. Yeah, acid thunder. That's the understatement of the world for everybody, man. He was just saying, "Hey, actually, it looks good," and this goes for a lot of things, but not a lot of dry powder right now. Yeah, one for the future though. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the actuator will be there whether people use it or not. It's immutable, So it gives an opportunity for people to use it. But I think the dry powder question is a real good one, or comment is a good one. A lot of people running a little low right now. And it's interesting to me too because I'm watching the charts and seeing buy, like we had a buy in hex this week, and signal coming off of golden ratio, another buy on pulse, another buy on pulse X. So numerically, which is just one way to kind of test all this stuff using the pi indicator, it's saying now is a really great time to take position. But that does not mean that the price only goes up. In the past, when we've seen those indicators about, hey, now's a good time to go into an asset, sometimes it goes up 75%, sometimes it goes up 100%, 200%, and then there could be a retrace. And then other times it just continues to go down until we hit another level that says, hey, it's time. It is time. Let's go look at my friend Helgo real quick before we close. If there are any other questions, if there are not any other questions, we'll do that. Let's look. All right. That's our 30-day we're looking at before. It's our full T-share rate. That's that one. Payouts. Okay. I don't have it up, so I guess I won't do it right now. But yeah, just watching the market, see what's going on, and see where we're headed. Well, with that, my friends, I think I'm probably my show is probably twice as successful as most American males in terms of how long they last. I think the average watch time is somewhere around 7 or 8 minutes. So we're 94 minutes in, ready to go out. So 29 minutes. I'm sorry. So I think that's pretty long. 3 times the national average, maybe. I see you out there, Hex Farmer. I'd like to join you at the hive. Thank you for going out there. I appreciate that very much. And with that, my friends, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Look forward to another T-Share report in the future. And as always, you guys stay crispy out there, and we'll move on our way. Oh, wait, I got one last thing. The coin critic's saying something important, but it's going to take me a moment to realize what it is. Your title, product market fit, is just the beginning of selling software. True. It is terminology. It's just the beginning. After product market fit comes product positioning and go-to-market strategy. I feel like we stopped at PMF. We have more work to do. True that, buddy. True that. I think that's probably a reasonable position that we're in. been taking a little heat on my viewpoint, or on one of my viewpoints. But let me go back. I think one way the future can unfold is with lots more positioning of the product and getting people, making people aware of it, and yeah, there being some sort of strategy that does bring people into the ecosystem. I think that's one way, right? And when I say into the ecosystem, I mean within the walled garden of hex, right? And staking of hex and valuing the idea of staking hex and all that, right? So I think there is a world we have expanded use. There's a possibility for that, but I'm not seeing it. But I think it could happen. But more, maybe a second position on that, which is the one that I've been talking about lately, is this whole walled garden kind of thing. Is the walled garden doesn't need, um, you know, product positioning and market strategy to be successful. Right? It doesn't necessarily. I need to leave it open. It doesn't necessarily need that, because the staking works the way it works, and even if nobody else plays with the staking, we're doing the staking and we're earning the rewards. And the token is on the market, and so then the token is fungible, and you can sell it, right? You can trade it, you can do whatever you want with it, right? So it's out there. Um, so then the question is that enough? Is that enough? Well, I don't know. 90% of, well, probably more than 90%, but the majority of crypto is about speculating on price based on narratives, you know? And so Hex has got plenty of narratives, up and down, up and down, up and down. And, we got the OA narrative, the Godwill narrative. We got all sorts of, lots of different things that might be going on out there. And so Hex as a token without staking has a future, and it's going to have a value on the market, and it's going to be volatile and react. And yeah, yeah, I don't think that, I don't know. I don't think that for Hex to be successful as a meme token, um, it requires people to be successful with staking. But it helps, I guess. I guess it does help, right? Because it takes more Hex off the market, makes it more scarce. I'm just kind of going around in my head, like, trying to get past this idea that when I talk to people about staking Hex for 4.5%, 5%, they're not really like super enthused about that. Right? They're not super enthused about that idea. But if you're earning enough as opposed to everybody else in the market, I don't know. Would I like to be getting 4% of my Bitcoin per year right now? I might. I might actually like that, right? So it's all a matter of perspective on price, and where you had gotten in and when you'd gotten set up. So, anyways, I often talk about these weird kind of off topic kind of ideas of what the future might hold for Hex, and I don't really know. You guys, we make the market, so we want to make staking great again. We got to make staking great again, and that means getting people out there and go, let them know, let them know. All right, let's see. We talk about the wall garden again. Acid Thumb, do you like that? Let's see. If there are guys with multi-million bags of Hex, how exactly would it ever get to $1? Yeah, dude, it's a true point. They would have to not sell, right? And we can go deep into the topic, but as related to what we're talking about with Hex staking, price appreciation is a thing for sure. And critics saying selling starts with empathy. Only then can you sell. When people are sad, depressed, you won't sell no matter the product. The future will be brighter. Yeah. Yeah, Acid Thunder. That's the That's always a good point. Acid saying, hey, the payout will go up. So I think it's worth it, right? It could change radically again. It could change radically, right? And the only way, as I was pointing out earlier, the only way it can go is really up. I don't anticipate. It would have to be some pretty extreme stuff happen for the payouts to go down. I think they can only go up. Can only go up. And of course, then Hex Farmer's going metaphysical, to be honest, with Metcalf over liquidity. Yes. 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 And then finally, what's your time horizon? That's Jay Soul saying that's the question you got to ask yourself, crypto, and that is a true fact. I agree with that too. And apparently signing up for 15 years is hard. Well, signing up for 15 isn't hard. Making it through 15 is hard because you don't know what that end is going to look like, and you're waiting for that to happen. But there we go. But on the upshot, let's end on an upbeat. I think that for Hex stakers within the walled garden, doing just fine. Things are going to keep going the way they are. I mean, those who are staking are just getting, making it so that they're building their moat, so to speak, around their positions by setting themselves up with more and more shares, right? So people are going to have a hard time in the future. Going to have a hard time busting your position. So, well, with that, we are actually going to end. You guys have a great night and stay crispy out there. We'll see you next time.
Yo, T, urgent Hex buy signal. Charts flaming hot.
Golden ratio, huh? That's how legends stack T-shares.
Get them while they're crispy, folks. This window won't stay open long.
Stake smart. Win big. Time rewards those who act.
Stay crispy, Hexicans.
You gotta move it, move it! Feel the rhythm of the blockchain.